Hey there, and welcome to the Think Fitness Life podcast. We're fueled by the incredible clients who inspire us every day, allowing us to elevate their health and fitness journeys. On this show, you'll gain valuable insights from top professionals, hear inspiring transformation stories, and discover the knowledge and motivation to create your own best life. Let's dive in. As someone who has continuously used therapy as a way to heal and elevate my personal performance, I know wholeheartedly that you cannot always read the label when you're in the jar. And that's why it's so helpful to have a professional in your corner to talk to. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp to provide our listeners with the opportunity to work with a licensed therapist from the comfort of your own home. Receive 10% off your first month when you sign up by going to betterhelp.com/TFL. That's betterhelp.com/T as in think, F as in fitness, L as in life. And remember, you're not alone. There are people out there who can help.
Welcome back to the Think Fitness Life podcast. I had a representative reach out on email with this person and said that they were doing these marathon trainings and is it ultra marathon?
We do
Or
ultras,
Ironman.
Ironman,
Mhm.
half Ironman, but I do have athletes that are ultra distance runners and triathletes.
And for me, that's not really my world.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a runner. I'm more of a strength trainer. My wife runs, but
Mm-hmm.
there's a big part of this industry, especially nowadays, where running is becoming huge.
Mm-hmm.
These Ironman, these ultras are becoming really, really popular because it elevates people to the next push for the search of whether it's hard work, whether it's accomplishments, whatever that is. But we are honored today to have Jennifer Comfort from Jennifer Comfort Coaching. She's a endurance coach, a fitness coach. She's a runner. She's an endurance athlete. We're going to welcome her onto the show to hear her story, what she does in the realm of something that probably I'll never do is mass amounts of endurance training and putting your body through hours and hours of that work to accomplish a goal. Jennifer, welcome on.
Thanks so much for having me. Pleasure to be here.
I was to start way in the back. What got you into the fitness world? What got you into, especially for you, even on your Instagram page, you look very much an endurance athlete, but where did it start?
I definitely was not always this. not even close. Let's see, I grew up playing soccer. That's my background. And then in college, I did some 5Ks with my roommates just for fun. We didn't even train for them, just kind of joking around. And then I fell out of fitness for a few years, was going through some loss and grief, and just became very, very unhealthy, very overweight, equally important, just mentally not in a very good space at all. And I was able to flip that around and started running again to really deal with grief. And fast forward, I had my first child and I did my first triathlon when he was 1 year old. And he's 21 now. I've been doing this for 20 years and I just never stopped and just escalated from there.
That's awesome. One big question, because we have a lot of clients in conversations when, especially having kids.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people think that, okay, once I have kids, my performance is going to drop off.
Mm-hmm.
I want to dive into that real quick because I think that's a big topic, especially for expecting moms or moms who are in the endurance world.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't need to stop. You can keep training.
Absolutely.
How did you kind of push through and do that after he was born?
Well, first, the reason I did my first triathlon is because I was going to the gym while I was pregnant and I met people who mentioned a triathlon and I didn't even know what it was. I did exercise throughout my pregnancy. I was very fortunate to do that, definitely on a very safe level. And then I think, especially for women after having children, I think it's a superpower for us, to be honest. There's nothing easy about growing a human in our bodies and then bouncing back from that, which requires a lot of patience too, which endurance training and racing takes patience. And bouncing back from a pregnancy and childbirth, it's not easy on our bodies. And I think we can use these races and getting in communities that are supportive to help us recover and regain some autonomy and health again.
Yeah, that's a big one because even training clients that it's
Mm-hmm.
hard for them to see when they do have their kid, but
Mm-hmm.
it is great to see when they I'll say how do I even see bounce back? They go through training during pregnancy and they see that their hard work pays off. Yeah, their schedule changes and their daily routine changes, but there's still their basis of, hey, I'm going to work out, I'm going to do endurance, I'm going to strength train. That kind of still stays part of their habit, and they
Mm-hmm.
don't
Mm-hmm.
feel, oh, I'm getting overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think also, in addition to, I agree with you completely. And as far as the patients, it's almost cliche, but it's taking the process day by day. It's not overnight. Nothing's overnight. It took me 10 years to get to my first world championships, a decade of training and racing. And it's not overnight. And what we might see on socials paints a pretty picture. And the daily grind is not that sexy or interesting sometimes, frankly, but that's what it takes to get from A to B.
Especially it seems in the endurance world, it does take that duration of time to really build not even the foundation, but
Mm-hmm.
just to build overall resiliency. You read it so many times, this person started off here and it took them 5 to 10 years before they really hit their peak training and peak VO2, especially for females. They're
Mm-hmm.
saying now in the mid 30s. Plus, that's when VO2 is really starting to be, hey, they can optimize it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
how was your that 10-year gap? What did that look from an endurance athlete? Because I think a lot of runners, they want to run marathons, they
Mm-hmm.
jump into it and they're okay, we have maybe 12 weeks, but in reality, things take a lot longer.
It was a progression. In the sport of triathlon, most of my athletes are triathletes, which is swim, bike, run. Within the sport of triathlon, there's 4 different distances. There's a sprint, there's an Olympic, there's a half Ironman, and then an Ironman. In all of those races, you're swim, biking, and running, but the distances double each time. I started at a sprint triathlon, the very shortest triathlon around, and then gradually built up to a full Ironman distance. And it's a progression, it's consistency, it's learning to enjoy and hopefully maybe even love the process of just getting to do a different discipline every day, and adding strength onto that too. We all should or do strength training. I'm doing air quotes in should. We all do strength training as well. How to put that in the mix is it's challenging, but it's doable.
Yeah, especially because there's so much volume accumulated in
Mhm.
long distance in that
Mhm.
training that, and I have to respect. I don't see a lot of people who doing marathons and triathlons spending an hour plus doing, I don't say hardcore strength training, but
Mhm.
1 or 2 times a week, 30 minutes might be all they get in.
Yeah.
What do they need to get in? What for you? What did that kind of strength training regimen look like? I think a lot of people they they lack that strength training from a tendon muscle
Mhm.
force adaptation, and then
Mhm.
it's too late because they start getting injured because of the accumulated volume.
Absolutely. Absolutely. A lot of it is exactly what you said. It's for injury prevention. It depends on an athlete's background. The type of coaching I do is very individualized and customized. It depends where what the athlete has done their whole life. But generally speaking, putting in 2 30-minute to 40-minute full body sessions a week is what endurance athletes have the capacity to do with all the other volume they're doing. 3 years ago, I did a little experiment on myself and I did bodybuilding in a competition also. Yeah. I'll be honest, I was getting burned out with endurance. I mean, it just
Uh-huh.
was. It's a lot, man. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of strain on your body. I just needed to mix it up. And I wanted just to see what the bodybuilding world was and what it was to really put an emphasis on strength training. My coach was not letting me do as much cardio as I wanted to. And it was, we were button heads, and I tried to do some sneaky cardio training and he caught on. It was very humbling, but it also showed me the different type of strength training world. And I tried to incorporate that with some of my athletes and with myself too, as an endurance athlete, incorporating not bodybuilding, I guess bodybuilding ish type strength as well. And I think more of a hybrid approach for some athletes
Mhm.
is helpful. And that's something I've just learned in the past few years.
Because a lot of people think, oh, they need to strength train. They're thinking bodybuilding routines where one
Mm-hmm.
day's legs, one day's arms,
Mm-hmm.
and for you endurance athletes, that's not the case. You got to sprinkle a little bit of everything into 2 30-minute sessions
Yes.
and call it a day because your primary target is more that long distance, long volume work of
Mm-hmm.
whether it's bike, swim, or run.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it depends on what the athlete's training for. If it's for trail running, for example, strength training is it's a non-negotiable. You
Yeah.
have to strength train for trail running. I mean, really for all things, but that one especially. Yeah.
Yeah, one of my coworkers is doing a trail run ultra and he still is lifting heavy and has to do that stuff
Yeah.
because it's just a totally different discipline on the body.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes all these different ones, marathons, triathlons, sprints, they make them all fun and adaptive in their own way because
Mm-hmm.
there's so many different ways to train for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of want to touch that a little bit in your experience for endurance. What
Mm-hmm.
does that training from start to beginning, if someone says I want to do a triathlon in a year,
Mm-hmm.
what does that look for maybe people who are just getting into running or endurance training? Because sometimes I find or I hear that I'm going to do a race, people just go run hard every single day. And then, I mean, that would be something I would do in the past is I'm just going to run hard and try to improve,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not reality and progress.
I mean, I did the same thing 20 years ago starting out, just thought more was better. That's just not true. It's categorically false. To train for a triathlon, depending on the distance that the athlete's doing, be ready to get in zone two. And zone two is conversational. That's where the majority of the training takes place, believe it or not. It's not these hero workouts at all. Being zone two, at whether swimming, biking, running at a conversational pace, not a zone 3 or 4 or 5 for the most of the time, and then sprinkling in those workouts that are tempo, threshold, once a week is what we do, generally speaking. It depends on the course too. If it's a hilly course, then we're on the bike, especially, athletes are going to be hitting the hills and doing hill repeats to build up that strength endurance as well and those muscles needed to climb hills on the bike.
Do you base that zone two, zone three? Because I always love having this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Do you base it on heart rate or kind of that talk test conversation?
All of the above. All
Okay.
of the above. I mean, I think personally, I mean, we have all of our gadgets, our watches, our bike computers on the bike if you have power, although we have run power too. That's super helpful
Mhm.
also. But I mean, to not overcomplicate things, if you can't talk, then you're not in zone two, as far as I'm concerned. And that heart rate too. But then the heart rate can be vary based upon heat, humidity, elevation, hydration, all of those things.
Yeah, because for me personally,
Mm-hmm.
when I go out on a run, my heart rate will be pretty high. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not
Mm-hmm.
really an endurance coach, but
Mm-hmm.
it'll be 170s, 180s, but I can still talk.
Yeah. Yes.
I'll be
I have
honest.
an athlete this. Yeah.
I'm very much of a anaerobic sprinter. When I do go on runs, I get one would call it's going to go above threshold really quick,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
I'm still able to kind of teeter at that level. Now, when I do threshold training, not running, but
Mm-hmm.
on an assault bike,
Sure.
like I'm pushing 190s my thresholds. I just don't know,
Wow.
but I've always had a high heart rate.
Yeah.
So I always ask, is it going to be something where I should need to pull way back, or is it more of a talk test thing? And I can kind of, is it my zone two just higher?
Yeah. It is. And I have an athlete very
Yeah.
similar to this. And I would see his data and there's no way. And I went on a run with him and sure as enough, his heart rate was similar to yours, but we're still talking. And I'm, whoa, this is really different than normal, quote unquote. But yeah, if you
Hmm.
can talk, then as far as I'm concerned, you just run a higher heart rate. Yeah.
And I say that because one of my thoughts is because I've developed so much as a strength athlete
Mm-hmm.
that my heart is more concentrically developed with thicker walls
Sure.
than someone whose endurance is more eccentric, thinner walls. My heart's just working harder because
Mm-hmm.
that's what it's used to because of the adaptation I've created for 20 years.
Sure. You're a different type of athlete.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that would, as I said, if I really geared towards endurance training,
Mhm.
that adaptation would change, and then I would eventually start to pull that down
Mhm.
as I do much more. You said zone 2, and I
Mhm.
would probably need a pretty huge washout period to get into zone 2.
And I think your body would tell you too, because even if you're running and you're conversational, for endurance athletes, we have to rinse and repeat every single day. If you're not recovering at those heart rates, even if you're conversational, then that would be a conversation I would have with an
Mhm.
athlete based upon just subjective feedback, even.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
And that's where using, you said using those, whether it's Garmin, whether it's watches, all that trackable data is really good because it can keep you in tune with recovery and training.
Hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
For you, your journey now, you do a lot of triathlons. What's your training look now for you? What phase are you in? When is the next one coming up?
Oh gosh, my training is, I do the best I can. All my athletes, I'm busy and I'm not able to train at the level that I have in the past. The next race that I'm doing is Ironman 70.3 Washington Tri Cities. It's a half Ironman. It's on September 21st, and it's a 1.2 mile swim, a 56-mile bike, and then a half marathon, 13.1 miles.
Oh, so you're almost what, 6 weeks out?
5. Yeah.
Oh, 5 weeks.
Yeah, it's getting there. Yeah.
Where's your training now? Are you going
Mm,
to taper soon? Are you in a higher volume week?
yeah.
I wouldn't even say phase.
Hmm. Yeah, for myself and my athletes, we're pretty much in peak now for the next couple of weeks. We won't start tapering until 2 weeks before. Now that's looking, since the race is where I live, we train out on the bike course every weekend, doing 50 to 60-mile bike rides on hills. During the week, I'm doing hill repeats on on the bike course. Long runs are up to 10 miles, and then swimming is not as much as I do, but it's when I can fit it in. My
What
athletes are
what
doing a way better job than I'm doing on the swim portion, but a couple times a week I'm getting into the pool.
I
Yeah.
mean, it is when you do run a full-time job, you're a mom, it's
Yeah.
work. Like
It's
it's
it
not
yeah.
one of
But
those
it's
things
when
where
yeah, go ahead, sorry.
no, I'd say it's one of those things where I think when we're athletes and we're younger, or you're at college, you have ample time. That's your kind of your job or
Mhm.
professionals. But
Mhm. Mhm.
most people, they're fitting this stuff in prior to work, getting up 5 in the morning, doing 14-mile runs or whatever. I give a applaud to those people where you have to set aside a chunk of time, more time each week, depending on the mileage and whatnot,
Mhm.
to get it in. And people still do get it in with their career, with their job, because I mean, that's what they've set their minds out to do. And that's what they want to accomplish.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think it's really good for me to be going through this still and living what all my athletes are living too. You just said they all have success careers, they have children, they have family, they have animals, they have vacations, camping trips, traveling abroad, all those things. And I think trying to fit this in and keep it fun and the joy in it, and I think that's just really important, and it's good for me to be going through it as well. My athletes are.
Do you train side by side with your athletes on Sunday? Some days you're going out like, hey, I wouldn't say competing against each other, but we're athletes. Once you put me next to someone or someone next to someone,
Mhm.
sometimes it starts to get to, hey, we're going to push this against each other a little bit.
I was just talking to an athlete this morning about this, about training rides, and they always just turn into smash fests. Yeah. Now, what I do, what I call open water Wednesdays. I'm up on a paddle board supporting my athletes in the river every Wednesday. And then on the weekends, I usually do a long ride. And then on the bikes, we get spread out, but just kind of keep tabs on each other. And then the runs, sometimes we do run together and sometimes we don't. It just kind of depends. Yeah.
Mm. And your athletes, do they find you? How do they get, and what are your athletes prepping for now? Do you have some athletes that are maybe Olympic hopefuls in the future?
Not Olympic. Most of my athletes are doing the 70.3 half Ironman in 5 weeks. The majority, some other athletes are training for marathons, trail races. But I have my athlete squad ranges from first time triathletes to athletes that are gunning for world slots, world
Oof.
championship qualifications. Yeah. Hmm.
Mm. And
Yeah.
it's one thing fascinating. I do mention Olympics. I know that's maybe a gold standard, but
Hmm.
in some of the running and triathlon world now, it's really not. We're getting amassing to these feats, these trail runs, some of
Hmm.
these Ironmans that are these are more than the Olympics. These a lot of people have their mindset on some of these greater ones. What would you say for people who aren't really aware of like
Hmm.
Ironmans? What is the most popular one or the toughest one people really want to do?
Yeah, the World Championships in Kona, Ironman World Championship is kind of the gold standard. That's for a full Ironman. And then for the 70.3, the half Ironman, there's World Championships every year and it's a rotating location. I would say those two for the type of racing that we do. The Olympics triathlon, it's draft legal. It's a different style of triathlon
I know that.
than what most of us do. This type Ironman is not draft legal on the bike.
So what does that mean? I assume it's what draft legal means. You can use other people and strategize.
Yep, precisely. Absolutely. Yep, you got it. When you're drafting, you're saving energy and it's Tour de France style riding. Whereas Ironman, you can't, you need to be 12 meters, 5 to 6 bike lengths away from the nearest person on a bike.
Do you
You're,
why
oh, go ahead.
why the Olympics do that? It's if Ironman has their kind of set regulations,
Uh-huh.
why do the Olympics have a different set?
It's just two different styles of racing.
Okay.
It's just different styles of yeah, it's the same sport but different styles. Yeah.
Do a lot of people compete in both, or is there? I'm gonna kind of guess there's a stigma. If you're a drafter, you're a drafter. If not, you're okay. What kind of game are we playing here, right?
Yeah. It really just depends. It depends on people's personalities. I think in other countries, draft legal races are a little bit more popular than in the United States.
Hmm.
I'm not sure why. College triathlon, collegiate triathlon is draft legal, and then ITU circuit is draft legal, but it's there's just lots of different options and people can kind of choose what fits their personality and their style of racing.
Because I also assume in draft legal, you sometimes you probably need a good team or camaraderie if you're gonna draft with someone because
Yes.
eventually someone's gonna try to overtake that
Yes.
or change something from that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
But I've always I asked because I've always seen Ironmans as hey, this is an individual event. That's how I viewed it. It's sort of you were competing against the rest of the field. I don't view it as Tour de France where the
Mm-mm.
team's working to support. For me, to be honest, in my opinion, drafting just sounds kind of oh, you're going to use me to get advantage. Where in reality, just do your own work and
Mhm.
make it your own progress.
Mhm. You're exactly yeah, the Ironman style of racing, it's you against you you're on a time trial bike and your time is what you are doing. You're not using anybody else to gain advantage.
Mm. And this Tri City one,
Mhm.
how you said you got a couple athletes. How many athletes do you have going to this? Do you have a lot?
I do. Probably I have
Nice.
about 15 to 20.
Jeez.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
I assume they all train similar with each other or know each other,
Yeah. Yes.
right?
Uh-huh.
What's when that gets into to let's call it game day,
Mhm.
triathlon day
Mhm.
or days, I'm not sure.
Mhm.
What does the competitiveness really crank up or is it really an individual from your perspective when you did it? Is it more of an individual you're trying to beat your own time or previous time?
Mhm.
Because for me, as I said earlier, once you put me near someone, I'm going to just try to beat that person or beat whoever is in
Mhm.
front of me. That's
Mhm.
my goal,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
my sports are always been anaerobic. I'm just going to burn myself out.
Sure, sure. It's yes, it's you against you. I just was on a meeting with my athletes before I got on, and that was we were talking about pacing for this race, and I just said this: it's swim your own swim, ride your own bike, and run your own run. It's you against you. In Ironman racing, the awards are in 5 year. The age groups are in 5 year increments. Unless you're in somebody's same age group, you're you're not even really competing against them. You're just competing against
Got it.
people, and male and female are separately, and they're in 5 year age group increments. And again, for some people, they're just trying to get across the finish line for the very first time. Other people are trying to go for a PR, a personal record. The course for Ironman Tri Cities this year the bike course is a little different. It's a 3 year contract that we have with them. Even comparing the bike times this year to last year, it's a little bit apples to oranges because it's not the exact
Yeah.
same course. And the swim is in the Columbia River. It's a downriver swim. The current changes daily. Again, the times can't be exactly, again, you're just against yourself on race day.
That's when it comes to different courses, running, biking, swimming. It's, I know people want to have that, I need to beat this previous time, but everything changes if you don't have a set course. And that's what also makes some of these sports of ultra or endurance, marathoners, cyclist routes, or swimming intriguing, because they all have their different attitudes towards them, and certain courses can change via other ones.
Yes, absolutely. And just being outside, obviously the weather is changing every day too. It's dynamic, and that's why we go out and train in rain and wind, and we live in a desert. It's hot here. It is very hot here now. Heat acclimation is important as well, because we don't know what race day is going to give us.
And I have one of my clients did one, and they told me about the wetsuits. If the water's if this is the water's a certain degree, you have a choice, but if it's under, you have to wear one. Dive into that a little bit, because I think that doesn't that play a role in, hey, now you have to, is it ride a bike after a run in a wetsuit? How does that order go?
Yeah, you swim first, and then I don't know off the top of my head the temperature that you have to wear a wetsuit or not. I've been in races where the day before or the morning of, the water is too warm and there are no wetsuits allowed, not wetsuit legal. Yeah, that's a judgment call on the Ironman organization, and they let us know they relay the information of the temperature of the water, and then we find out as athletes if it's wetsuit legal or not, or absolutely required. And then coming out of the water at these bigger races, we have wetsuit strippers, which are awesome. As you're getting out of the water, you take the wetsuit down to your waist, and then you go over to a volunteer and you sit on your butt and you put your feet in the air, and they just yank the wetsuit off of you. It's awesome.
That's nice.
It's super nice. Yeah. Because getting out of those suckers, getting in and out of them, it's challenging. Yeah.
It's not as easy, especially when you're waterlogged with them and you're wet. It's like, okay, here's a different.
Yeah, we really, really appreciate the volunteers and the wetsuit strippers that we have here, and all the volunteers at these races. Oh my gosh, these races would not happen without thousands of volunteers that are out there just generously giving of their time, so we can run around in circles and have fun. And then the wetsuit's off, and then you get on the bike and ride the bike, and then you come back in and get on the run. Yeah, go on the run.
For the wetsuits, either wearing them or not, do you prep for that in training? Are there certain days where you're going to go, hey, there's no wetsuit in the swim today, whether it's open water, you're in a pool, or there's some days where you're, hey, I need to put a wetsuit on to train for that? Or is it really your day of the race, then you got to adapt to it? How do you mitigate that kind of game day decision?
Sure. Before these races, we're in our wetsuits as much as we can. The open water here, it's up to 70 degrees, but we still wear wetsuits every single time we're in it, because triathlon wetsuits, obviously they're super tight. They do cause some restriction, and you have to be comfortable with that for your breathing and just your shoulder rotation and mobility as well. There's proper ways to put them on as practicing that. And then I'm just getting used to being comfortable in them. We practice in them as much as possible. Absolutely. And then if you're in somewhere where it's a non-wetsuit legal swim, say Hawaii or sometimes in France, then some people, we have swim skins, what we call them, just put some little one outfit piece thing over our tri-suits. But then it's more swimming in a pool, really. There's not that much to practice. It's more practicing in the wetsuits and being comfortable with that, with that constriction. But the wetsuits, the technology on them are absolutely incredible, and they do provide buoyancy. Even if you're not in salt water, we have fresh water here, it's a river. Those wetsuits do make you more buoyant, which also affects your form and your technique. That's another reason why we practice in those. Yeah.
Yeah, if people have never been in a wetsuit, it's just a different experience, right?
Yeah.
They work amazing, but it just changes how you kind of move in the water.
Yeah. Have you been in one? Have you tried one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I was
Yeah.
it was a thick one because the water was cold off of South Africa,
Oh,
but
dude.
yeah, it's a different experience. I've never been in one. I'm like,
Yeah.
holy smokes.
Yeah. Different. That's exactly. Yeah. The more familiarity you can gain, the better you're going to be on race day. Yeah.
For triathlons, when clients come to you, when is for someone, if they're interested, when would someone start that? Right? Because there's races, I assume, all year long. Maybe not the big ones. I know there's
Hmm.
smaller ones,
Hmm.
but ideally, if someone's looking to do one, how far out do they need to really start that training, whether it's zone 2
Hmm.
work, that you really would recommend?
Now. There's never a bad time to be doing base training and strength training, to be honest. But it depends on the background of the athlete, the distance of the race. For a half Ironman, especially if you're new, at least 6 months. For a full, anywhere from 9 to 12 months out. But again, yeah, there are hundreds of races all over the globe, quite literally. You could race any time of the year, anywhere you wanted to. For the North American season, it starts the end of March and then goes up to December with races in
Wow.
California. But for most of us, the summer months is where most of the North American races occur. And then what we call the off season is usually the fall and winter. And that's when I really have my athletes double down on strength training and working on their limiter, what discipline they can improve on the most.
What discipline do you find is the best to train, if you were to pick one to train the most for an advantage? Now that might change person to person, but
Mm-hmm.
just at first, let's just hear what would you train the most? What's most important?
Hands down, biking. It's
Interesting.
the longest part of any triathlon. And then your cycling strength will translate into run strength. Conversely, running does not really help your cycling, unfortunately, that much. Not as much as cycling helping running.
It's crazy that inverse, that
Mm-hmm.
it
Uh-huh.
just running, that it doesn't translate over.
Not as much. It just doesn't. Yeah.
I assume in the winter times, maybe I don't know where you are if it's not that cold. I heard a lot of people, they get the trainers out and they're in the garage and basement and they're grinding it out, not grinding into threshold, but in
Mm-hmm.
the zone 2 90 120 minutes
Mm-hmm.
of work in the off season, because it's one of
Mm-hmm.
those things that keeping that big aerobic engine and big
Mm-hmm.
aerobic base, that takes a lot of aerobic work to do. It's more than people think. It's not just 30 to 45 minutes. You have to accumulate over time, just more time.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. That's what we do. Most of us have trainers that we stick our bikes onto in the winter. A lot of us do Zwift, which is kind of biking gaming. I used to do it competitively during COVID when we couldn't race in real life. There's teams, there's coaches online, there's time trials, there's series. So there's a lot of things, even in the past 5 to 7 years, that evolved for indoor training. And it is just a massively, massively effective way to gain bike specific strength and the aerobic engine you mentioned.
Mm. In building that aerobic match, we mentioned zone 2. In your programming, what does it differ from other people's programming? Because I know every coach has a little bit different programming for endurance. Do you kind of sprinkle different aspects in? Are you very zone 2 heavy? You
Mm-hmm.
don't have to tell us all the kind of secrets. Just get a little insight, because I think a lot of people listen to these podcasts and to shows, and they're trying to find out what's what sets you apart from an AI app that's
Mm-hmm.
just generating, oh, I can do this. And you and I both know that kind of threatens our world, but
Mm-hmm.
not
Mm-hmm.
really, because AI doesn't understand the science. It's just pulling data points.
Mm-hmm.
But where can someone, if they're very interested, be like, hey, what sets your programming different than just some generic ones?
Sure, absolutely. I don't have any secrets, to be honest. I don't. I'm a pretty much open book about how I coach, and how I coach is individualized to each athlete. But to answer your question about the zone 2, I will sprinkle in just a few examples. A fast finish. Let's just say it's a zone 2 5 mile run, and then I'll say, hey, that last mile, bust it, go for it, absolutely go for it. Or I'll say, hey, this is a zone 2 run, but I want you to find a hill. You can repeat for, depending on the athlete, 30 seconds up to maybe 1 or 2 minutes, obviously not at the same speed as a 30-second hill, or even a 15 or 20-second hill. And I'll say, go do 10 repeats up that 30-second hill in the middle of your zone 2 run. Another thing, this gets out of zone 2. One of my other favorite, a couple other favorite, this is all for running, just that's at the top of my head now, kilometer repeats or 800-meter repeats, money. Those are examples of getting out of zone 2. The recovery is zone 1, 2. The warm up and cool down is zone 2, but then adding in some zone 3 within that is super special sauce as far as I'm concerned for boosting up your fitness.
Yeah. How often would you throw in zone 3?
Once a week.
Like once a week. Now, would that be consistent over 16 weeks phase or?
Yeah.
Because I there's some people that they'll say, hey, just zone 2.
Yeah.
And if you ask me, at first I would need to, I'd need to build an aerobic base. But reading conditioning books, I'm going to toy around with that zone 3 threshold because I'm going to try to change my enzymes to try to really pull my system and adapt quick. Now I know there's going to be big recovery coming from it. Sometimes I think people get a little leery at first if they're doing that too early. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't see any problem with doing it, sprinkling it in early. Another way to manipulate that is trail running and having, even if they're training for a road race, getting on trails with some undulation, and that's naturally going to raise your heart rate. And I think that's fine. And then the downhills, it'll lower it, and you're training different muscles and tendons. And I think sprinkling in a trail run once a week, maybe once every other week, just to naturally raise and lower the heart rate and have an athlete be comfortable with that happening and know that that's okay to do. And then your body will just naturally adjust.
Yeah. Because in reality, there's no wrong programming. I mean, I'm sure you could go some wrong if hey, I'm going to do all zone 3. You're probably going to run into some issues.
Yeah.
I would assume because your competition of the race, it's just a different, you're not going to be competing in that the whole time. But I don't know. I mean, some people might have a higher heart rate or competing in different zones. But I assume when you're on, it's game day, it's race day, you're giving it all.
But giving it your all for 5, 6, 7, 8 up to Ironman's 13, 14, 15 hours, giving your all might be staying in zone 2 or high zone 2, depending on the race. Again, if you're doing a sprint triathlon, the shortest distance, then you're redlining. You are going as fast as you can the entire race. It really just depends on the distance and how you use pacing for that.
And that's where I'm sure you need to get repetitions in and volume in to understand that, hey, this isn't just an all-out thing that you're going to go and redline the whole thing because you're going to get yourself in trouble.
Absolutely. Yeah, you'll be in big trouble. And we've all done that. I mean, I can even laugh about it. Oh my God, we all go, I mean, most of us go out too fast. And then by the end, you're just blown up. Really, pacing it's a mindset. And it's putting the ego aside, because can you go faster? Absolutely. But should you? Absolutely not. And putting the ego aside and racing smart. It's a skill. And and I think that's kind of fun and dynamic as well. We learn every single time we race, we learn something new.
And that's where the training teaches you that. And I'm sure coming from soccer, you're very sprint anaerobic sport. We're used to, hey, we're going all out in 0 to 15 seconds, and then we're going to rest and repeat. A lot of our sports, that's how we're just geared to design. And we get into that competitive mode. It's, hey, we're going all out, and then we gas out too early. It's, oh yeah. But that's where when I go do a road race or something, because I don't train that way, that's where my brain takes me, because I'm still competitive. But if I were to do that, my point is, you got to do the training to understand and train your energy systems, but to really understand where that you kind of hone in on where your threshold can really live. And then you got to find your pace, because an hour soccer game or an hour football game is different than 15 hours of competition.
Absolutely.
It doesn't even come close.
No.
And it kind of gets into my next realm of of nutrition and recovery, because I think a lot of people they'll hear training, oh, I can do this, this, and this, but they miss the biggest thing. Because if you can't recover from any of the fatigue and stress that just gets dumped on your body, there's no way you're going to make this. But for you, coaching it, what does that look for you outside of, let's say, outside of race, on training, and then what's it look during the race for 15 hours? How are you fueling? How are you doing that?
It's, again, it's something that the athletes and we practice during our training. There's general principles, but everybody's a little bit different. And with all of the products that are out there now that are created for endurance sports, and then real food too, everybody has a little bit different preference. Even in training, you said recovery. A lot of the times, especially on the longer training sessions, I specifically write in their plan, this session is not over until you've had your recovery 25, 13 grams of protein, carbohydrates, whether it's a meal, a recovery shake. That's built into their training programs just to emphasize the importance of recovering and getting the body refueled back up, because they're probably going to be training either later that day or again the very next day. As far as specific things, markers that we look for, carbohydrate intake. And it's fascinating where that science is going now. The recommendations even 5 to 10 years ago the recommendations now compared to 5 or 10 years ago are different. I think especially trail runners are really at the cutting edge of pushing higher levels of carbohydrates that we used to not see. The carbohydrate intake, and that takes care of calories as well. The sodium intake is something that we monitor. And then obviously the fluid intake as well, is the athlete getting in at least 1 bottle per hour on the bike. Sodium 400, 800 milligrams per hour more if it's hotter or humid. Carbohydrates pushing 50 to 60 up to 90. Some pros are doing 120 an hour.
Per hour?
Per hour. Yeah.
And this is during the race, I assume?
Yeah, but we practice it in training too.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What are they using for, I mean, because I assume maybe biking's different. You read some nutrition books, oh, your gut can only really handle 60 grams an hour. But you said that's starting to change. Some people, at first you got to train your system to do it, because if you just throw in 60 grams of glucose, you might have some GI issues.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
But that's training the system. But it's fascinating to hear. I tell a lot of my younger athletes, don't go over 60 if you've never done it before. But to hear people going 120, that's crazy.
It is. I agree. It is crazy. That used to not happen. Yeah.
What are they using to get to 120? Because this is always another thing that I love to discuss. Are they using some people? I've heard, maybe not for triathlons, but like trail runners, I'm just gonna crush some nerds and I'm gonna hit some processed food.
Right.
Well, I'm gonna load up on gels and I'm gonna do stingers or goos. What do you have people do, or what do people to do?
All of the above, everything you just mentioned, to be honest. Some athletes love gels, some athletes the chews, some athletes the waffle stinger waffles. Some athletes are making their own homemade rice balls, or some people throw Rice Krispie treats or Belvitas from those graham cracker type stuff, Fig Newton bars. It really runs the gamut. It really does. And it has to be something that the athlete can eat. I have one athlete that doesn't like peanut butter. They're not going to have peanut butter, but a lot of stuff has peanut butter in it because it's just calorically dense. And we need those calories. Our engine's burning hot. But she can't do that. So then we find other alternatives. Yeah.
Does she is it allergic or is it GI issues with peanut butter?
Yeah, GI. Yeah.
That's, I kind of have a feeling, because when I have high amounts of peanut butter post-workout, the high fat does not sit well with my GI system. But that's where it's crazy when you talk to a lot of these super endurance athletes, and yes, they eat really healthy to recover and all this stuff. But when it comes to racing, they're not going to be, well, I'm going to have broccoli and bananas. I think some people get this idea that, oh, these people are eating super healthy on the races, when in reality, you need to get the quickest sugar possible into your system and as much calories in. But might surprise some people when people are just crushing tortillas with peanut butter on it. My coworker does that, and they're, I just do 3 of these every hour to run. And you're like, okay, this is but I think it's great because people in the high endurance world need to understand that the nutrition becomes a little bit different. Yeah, you're doing everything on recovery,
Mm-hmm.
but your main thing is performance.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
how do you drive performance is quick fuel through glucose and glycogen.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
that's your end goal.
Mm-hmm. And it does vary because I had an athlete, for example, he did a Deca Ironman, 10 Ironmans in a row at the
Holy.
11 days of racing, 11
Whew.
days. And this guy, he eats what I would describe as clean. He's making, or I'm making wraps for him that have avocado, cucumbers, just fresh ingredients. And that he's having bananas with almond butter, and then the tent next to us is having Skittles and Pop Tarts and animal crackers, and that's fine. But my athlete wouldn't. That stuff, he doesn't train that, and he doesn't
Yep.
race that either. But
Now, for him, does the quantity of that stuff, does he have to get more in versus someone who's on the other tent with animal crackers, Skittles, and stuff? There's the trade-off, right?
yeah,
But yeah, as you and I know, you have to eat a
a
lot of that
lot.
stuff. You're
Yes.
like, okay, it's not just one tortilla with avocado and cucumber. It's like
Right.
6 or 7 of these.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a higher quantity. The other thing I mentioned that athletes do just for a fuel is Coca-Cola. I don't know if you're
I've
familiar.
heard
Have
about
you
this.
heard of that? I mean, that has quite literally saved my life in more than one race. I would never, ever drink it on a daily basis. But during a race, you said when you need that quick shot of glucose and your body is starting and mind is getting fuzzy. And I mean, it can be a lifesaver. That's kind of
Yeah,
a, mm-hmm,
that one's crazy. I've heard. I had another triathlon athlete on years ago on this
mm-hmm,
podcast, and then their book was Coca-Cola, and I
mm-hmm,
think
mm-hmm.
in one of Meb's running book, he talks about Coke, and I'm like, that's just something we're taught in sports nutrition. No, you need Gatorade, but this nutrition of ultra endurance, it's no, you just need glucose
Mm-hmm.
readily, and that
Mm-hmm.
carbonated water, which is soda, helps pull that into the cells. It's like, I've heard so many people have that, and they're like, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah, yeah,
This is what gets you by.
absolutely. Yeah, go figure.
But if it works, it works, because if
Yeah.
you're going 14 hours, I mean, you are smoking through calories.
Oh gosh.
Like,
Yeah.
it's just, what's an average triathlon caloric burn for you look like?
Oh, I mean, in a half, it's probably 3 to 4,000. In a full, it's double that.
Like,
You're burning 8 to 10,000 calories. Yeah.
which isn't, if you think about it, that's a lot of calories.
Mm-hmm.
And then to put, basically almost try to put that amount of calories back in
Mm-hmm.
during that time frame,
Mm-hmm.
you need food. You're going to need some food
A
that
lot.
has a lot of calories,
Yeah.
but it's going to help your system. And it's like, you
Mm-hmm.
got to get that in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And this is something I work with my athletes every single week. What did you take? What did you have on that? What did you take in? How many calories? How did that make you feel? And then we adjust the following week or keep it the same. And if it works well, yeah.
Mm. And I'm sure you have athletes that they're good at certain carbohydrates intakes, and others are at better. Do
Mm-hmm.
you have any? This is where the kind of the science gets crazy, that start doing the carb cycling kind of maybe 1 to 2 weeks before triathlon at all, or no?
Not too much. More just I encourage my athletes to be eating. They kind of already intuitively have to be eating a lot to be training at the levels they're training
Yeah.
at. I mean, otherwise their bodies would just start shutting down and they would know their energy would just
Mhm.
be depleted. More the week before the race week is when we don't double down. It's just more of an awareness. And really the biggest meal is 2 nights before the race is when we do extra carbohydrates, and it doesn't have to be anything crazy. It could just be an extra half a serving of pasta or some more bread or just some more rice than somebody's used to. And that's 2 nights before. And then the night before the race, it's more of a normal meal. Yeah.
You ever read Sports Nutrition's book where it
Mm-hmm.
says, "Oh, you can do it, and it'll
Mm-hmm.
give you a glycogen boost."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But sometimes what I feel, if you don't mess with nutrition
Right.
before the night before a race, heck,
Oh
absolutely
God,
not
no,
in a game,
no.
absolutely no. But there's been some research where some athletes, I'm probably not ultra endurance or triathletes,
Mm-hmm.
maybe more of your soccer players
Mm-hmm.
can get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
You drop it a little bit earlier in the week, and then you pull it back up 2 or 3 nights prior,
Mm-hmm,
and it
mm-hmm,
gets you that storage.
mm-hmm.
But if you're training your system to do that anyways, you're probably really already efficient at doing it as well.
Yeah, I think I
So I think
agree.
of people when they're not, they don't need to go pull the Michael Scott eating fettuccine Alfredo the night before and all of a sudden trying to make up for it. It's like
No.
all that work starts months prior to get your system used to, hey, we need to manage carbohydrates, and
Mm-hmm,
the
mm-hmm.
ratio of carbohydrates to fat and the diet really needs to be more carb heavy than fat, which
Absolutely.
I find fascinating because a lot of the endurance, my wife, she runs marathons. There's not a lot of fat in her diet. It's
Mm-hmm.
like carbs and protein. I'm like,
Yep.
dang.
Yep. All the carbs. We love
Yep.
them. We
That's
love them around here.
your coaching. Where can people find you,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of how can people get to you, and what do you offer?
Sure. The easiest way to get a hold of me is just on socials. I'm on Instagram and Facebook, Jennifer Comfort Coaching. I welcome messages anytime. I do in my link tree, I have a contact form in my profile on Instagram. Fill out the contact form and that'll shoot off to my email if anybody has questions or wants to contact me. Coaching wise, this is what I do full time. I have triathletes, I have runners, I have cyclists, all ages, shapes, sizes, abilities. I just brought on an associate coach just today, actually. I announced it earlier today.
Nice.
Stoked about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vanessa Monet we're going to be working together. She's part of our crew now. We'll be able to take on more athletes and just grow our community even more.
Now, are you predominantly in person? Do you do online? This might be a dumb question. Do you have a facility you train out of or start out of?
Nope. We use a platform called Training Peaks, and that's how the training is delivered. And then if athletes are local, then we'll do some group workouts, but it is predominantly online. And I have athletes all over the United States as well. And then we have check-in calls. I don't limit those. We have video calls, athlete initiated. We do as about once a month or as needed. Yeah, I have a whole flow chart of communication when an athlete comes on. There's 8 different points of ways to communicate with me in the order of operation of how we do our communication. But I'm here for my athletes, and this is what I do, and I love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Anything else before we wrap it up?
No, this has been really fun to chat, and I just want to plug the race that's coming here, the Ironman 70.3 Washington Tri-Cities. It's a great event for our community. We're in southeastern Washington State, and it's fun to share our little corner of the world with people. We have 200 wineries in a 50-mile radius here, over 300 days of sunshine a year. We're at the confluence of 3 rivers. It's a fun, beautiful place. And we have people from over 40 states and 25 countries that came to the race last year. And I think the community support is really high, and we're just friendly people, and we love people coming to visit us and share our outdoor spaces with others.
Does that happen every year around end of September, or does it change?
Sure. We have other shorter races throughout the year, local ones, but this one, it's a 3-year contract with Ironman. This will be year 2. Next year, it'll be the same weekend, the end of second to last weekend in September next year as well. And then hopefully we'll get to continue after that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And what the environment, end of September, what can that be? Can that be hot out there? Can it be cold? What does that look from a weather standpoint?
It's most likely going to be toasty. I mean, this week we're in about 100 degrees every day now.
I didn't realize it got that hot up there. Like, I always
Yeah.
thought it was more cooler that north.
Sure. Yeah. In Washington State and Oregon, there's the Cascade Mountain Range that bifurcates our states. There's the west side, which is Seattle and then Portland, that side of the state. And then our side of the state is an absolute desert. It couldn't be any more opposite as far as weather and patterns and topography and everything that we have over here. It's just way different. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. And it can be warm, it can be windy as well. We were lucky last year it wasn't, but 2-3 days after the race last year we had a massive windstorm, and we're just hoping it holds off again this year. But
Oof.
most likely it'll be warm. And the run's exposed. There's no shade on the run. The aid stations are every mile, and they're super well stocked with everything you need. The volunteers are helpful, they're lively. Athletes are very well taken care of here.
That's a big thing during races, and that's always obviously important to me as a strength coach
Mm-hmm.
is having those aid stations and having the. Because I've been to some races that I don't run in, but that I've spectated. It's been super hot, or you just even if it's not hot, you just see it's just not enough supplements or hydration being available. It's 9. I was at we had one yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
It's 90 degrees out, and
Mm-hmm.
there's 3 water stops. The water's warm, and people are going to be. They're not professionals. They're
Mm-hmm.
going to be overheated.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be prepared for this. But I guess that's every race is a little different.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to hear that I mean, I'm sure Ironman's on top of that. They're okay, we're
Oh,
gonna have anything and everything for you guys.
absolutely. Yeah, the alternative is just flat out dangerous and irresponsible. Yeah, the aid stations are great. And yeah.
That will kind of wrap us up, but you can go find her at Jennifer Comfort Coaching on Instagram. Do you have TikTok, or is it mainly Instagram where people are going to find you?
I don't have TikTok.
Neither do I.
Okay.
So there's the
I
answer.
feel if I did, it wouldn't be good. I'm just going to stay away.
No, I think I
Well,
think
not good
I'm
in the
sure.
sense that I would get sucked in. I think it's a great way to communicate, and I just don't. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Instagram for us
Hmm.
professionals is a little more of a professional platform where we can network and people find us.
Hmm.
I don't have TikTok. I don't know what that platform looks like. It to me it's kind of chaotic, and it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, do you really want your content to be found and people to go through, or just view for 15 seconds then call it a day? Cuz
Yeah.
I mean, I have to say the world of social media running and endurance kind of drives me crazy because you
Hmm.
have these people that I really don't know what they're doing, but they're throwing their hats in and videotaping this stuff to make it seem they're doing.
Yeah.
And it kind of gives, especially coaches, you or people, like me, we studied exercise physiology, a
Hmm.
bad rap because
Hmm.
they're just doing stuff based on what they think is right, and
Yeah.
they're steering people the wrong way. But then people are spending money for programs that might really not get people to optimize their performance.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I tell people when they meet with me, you can go online and get a free training program. We all know that. But that's why you have professional coaches, us that yeah, that are educated, that have done this for literally decades and have that experience behind us, and we're in your corner. We will make sure that everything is taken care of and you're healthy and progressing, and I think that's where people can still be valuable and will continue to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you having you on. I'm going to hit stop.
Matt Gluckman and Eric Menchie here from Think Fitness Life. Our entire careers have been dedicated to fitness, particularly how the mind helps the body. We've been around gyms and nutrition strategies for 25 plus years collectively, and nothing harms or helps better than your own mind, untrained or trained. Pushing beyond your limits, overcoming whatever's thrown your way, and making the decision to show up day in and day out as a lifestyle takes more soul than sand. And what I mean by that is when you can get your mindset and heart leading you consistently in the direction of your goals and dreams, well, it's just a matter of time before you have the performance, physique, or quality of life you're yearning for. See, your thoughts will stem from your beliefs, which will then lead you to action, which develop into your behavior and ultimately lead you to results. It's really that simple. Our process takes time and it takes open communication. It's amazing what pops up along the fitness journey to betterment, and we can be there every step of the way. To learn more or apply for coaching, visit www.thinkfitnesslife.com. Start recreating your life today.